I am Stephanie. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for joining in on a Sunday. I know a lot of you have other things to do. So, again, just super grateful for you all joining in and giving us some time to be able to talk to you about this important topic. So, Carlos touched upon the power of now. So, what I'm going to be doing is touching upon dialectical behavioral skills, specifically the what skills. So, before I delve into that, kind of a question too. Have you ever been in a situation where you want to lash out or maybe act out impulsively? And I'll let some people maybe answer in the chat box, maybe to 111 for, yeah. So I see some people saying yes. So I know I have plenty of times. So sometimes we get in a certain situation where our instinct is to lash out or to, again, act impulsively. This basically highlights that black and white thinking, which can cause us as humans to act without fully considering the situation. So we have a situation and it can disrupt our inner peace and it can even damage certain relationships depending on the severity of the conversation. So, dialectical behavioral therapy is a part of cognitive behavioral therapy. Essentially, what it does is it tacks on mindfulness techniques. It also touches upon emotional regulation. But today, for this portion, touching upon the power of now, I'm going to be focusing on that skill of mindfulness. So, mindfulness is one solution to extreme black and white thinking. So, mindfulness helps us to basically slow down, take a step back, take a breather, nice deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And then at that point, we can observe what we're feeling internally and in the external world, and then evaluate the situation based on our cues and what we've taken in on that. So mindfulness, it lets us become just more aware of our surroundings. It basically allows us to without live in awareness in the present moment, right? So just being mindful of the here and now, right? So touching upon again the book, The Power of Now. So just being in the present moment. It's without judging or rejecting the moment, without any attachment to that particular moment. So, with dialectical behavioral therapy, there are specific skills underneath mindfulness, which are called the what and how skills. So, for today, I'll be touching upon the what skills. So, the what skills to me are extremely important because they help you enter in that state of mindfulness. So, when you think about what and what's making you feel the way that it's making you feeling, what you want to do are three things. So again, this is mindfulness technique and specifically called the what skills. And I'll be dropping all this information too on the chat. That way, if you want to look more into it afterward, you can. So there's three components to these what skills. There's observe, describe, and then participate. So I know Carlos touched upon observing basically just how the power of now describes it in the book. So when you're observing a situation, you really want to notice your body's sensations, but you don't want to put any words to it just yet. So you're in the moment, maybe you're at home or at work right now, and just take a moment, like I said earlier, right? Take a nice deep breath in and then out. So at this point, you're starting to notice your body sensations. So you're focusing on the five senses, which would be hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, what else? Seeing. I think I said them all. So you want to focus on the five senses. When you pay attention to that, information is coming through your senses in that present moment. So you want to control your attention. And in this moment, like I said, take a deep breath in and then practice wordless watching. So again, you're controlling your attention to what you're feeling, and you're just letting that thought come into your mind. And Carlos used an example of the ant, right? So you're letting that thought come into your mind, whatever it may be. It could be a negative thought or it could be a positive thought. But he said the example of letting, it's like an ant and then you want to squish it. And then I always like to think about like clouds in the sky, right? So thoughts are coming up and you think about them as little clouds and you're just letting them float right by. So notice each feeling, rising and falling like waves in the ocean. So you can think about which analogy fits best with you and utilize that. So you're observing both your internal and your external feelings that are coming up and sensations that are coming up. So some examples of observing could be warmth, coolness, tension in the body, pressure, tightness, right? So just very general. You're not trying to put words into it, just what you're feeling in that moment. So that's the first component of the what skills, that's observing. The second component of the what skills is describing. So now at this point, you could put words into the experience. So when you think about it, you can describe something, you can't really describe it if you haven't put words to it. So in this case, when you describe something, you again want to be in the act of mindfulness. So you want to describe it without putting any judgment to that description. Just basically being aware, observing what you're feeling, what's coming up in your body, and then slowly describing it. So an example could be you observe some tightness or tension in your body. So an example would be basically like, let's say, stomach muscle tightness, right? So your stomach is hurting, you're feeling some tightness, maybe you're feeling tension in your neck. So you're labeling what you're observing. You want to put a name to the feeling. So label a thought as just a thought. Label a feeling as just a feeling. And label an action as just an action. So this is the extremely crucial point for this part in describing. It's you want to unglue yourself from interpretations or opinions. You just want to focus on the facts. So you want to describe the who, what, when, where, but disregarding the why. So just describing those facts. Remember that you can observe it through your senses, that you can't describe it. So a pitfall, sometimes you're feeling sad. So a pitfall to this is you're feeling sadness. And when you start feeling sadness, that's your observation. You feel sad. You might say, this is the worst day ever. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Now that's a negative thought and even an opinion, one might say. Because at the end of the day, how do you know if you really can't get through the day? How do you know that this is the worst day you ever felt or been through? Of course, you may feel that way internally and you might say, this is horrible. Why am I feeling this? Why am I having a panic attack right now? But again, you're going deeper into like analyzing that situation. You're going into the why. So when you sit there, and of course, this takes time, it's a mindfulness practice. But like I've always said, the brain, your mind is a muscle. The more you practice a technique, the better you'll get at it, right? So just like this, when you observe and then you start describing these thoughts that might be negative thoughts, this is the worst day ever. Try to shift your perspective and your thinking to just describing your sense. So very straightforward. So I'm sad. I'm feeling tightness in my chest. I'm feeling my palms are sweating. I'm feeling maybe tension in my neck, heart racing. I might want to throw up. Someone said, if you don't move it, you lose it. Yep. So again, with the mind, practicing and continuing to practice these things, right? Because if not, you do lose it. So when you shift your perspective and you start thinking in this manner, see if there's any different in the reaction that comes from it. Notice if you start reacting less negatively to the situation. You might find yourself reacting less negatively. And that, of course, is the goal. So that is basically in a nutshell what description is. It's a very generalized description of what your senses are telling you. You know, you might be seeing something and that might have distracted you. So you might be seeing a bug. And initially, when you see a bug because you have a phobia, let's say of bugs, or you're scared of bugs because it's a big spider, you might start to panic. But instead of letting all of those emotions surface up and freak out because of the bug, say, okay, I observe the bug. I'm starting to feel a little nervous, a little anxious. I don't know what to do, but let me take a deep breath. I notice that there's some tightness in my chest. Let me keep breathing. And then you continue to utilize this in any situation. So then, and let me know if anyone has any questions. I'll just give a quick moment and then I'll go into participate. Okay. So basically the last step is participating. So we've described what we've observed in our senses, and then now we're going to engage with this. So you basically want to throw yourself completely into the current moment. You do not want to separate what is going on in the moment from the external world, right? Peanut wants to say hi, guys. Hi. So basically, let's say you're out dancing. You want to engage with your friends and you want to dance with them. You're not going to go somewhere else or start talking to, I mean, and you could start talking to a random group of people, but you're not going to deter from being in that moment with your friends when you're typically out with them. You're hanging out with them, you're engaging with them and having a good time. Similarly, you want to do this when you're cleaning, let's say. So when you're cleaning, you want to focus on what you're cleaning. So let's say you're doing the dishes. Practice using mindfulness when you're doing the dishes. So you're feeling that, I think Carlos even mentioned this, right? The soap in your hand. You're smelling the scent of the soap. You're feeling the water, the temperature of the water, if it's cool, warm. And then you start to describe it. I smell lavender. I feel really calm because I'm washing these dishes. Maybe you have music playing in the background and that's giving you an extra release of dopamine. And you're like, yes, I love this. This is exciting. I'm engaging with this. So it's to say, if you think, oh man, but I have to do the laundry next. So as soon as those thoughts come up, basically you want to, again, try to let those slip away, make it float by like a cloud, right? So you want to be in the here and now. It's the opposite of multitasking, some might say, right? So you're trying to focus in on that one thing and be present in that one thing. So, you're becoming one with whatever you're doing. So completely forgetting yourself. You're throwing your attention to the moment and you're acting intuitively from wise mind. So I know previously we had another conversation where I spoke upon wise mind, but just in case, I know some of you are new here today. For wise mind, just a quick brief explanation on it. It's basically, as individuals, sometimes we react to things as emotional, or we sometimes do more logical or reasonable in terms of reacting. So emotional is you react in an emotional way. Logical is you react using logic and reasoning, but sometimes you don't take other people's feelings or what they would like to do into consideration. So what wise mind is, which is another dialectical behavioral technique, is it takes both of those, the emotion and the logic, puts them together so that you can react in a more state of wise, right? So being very calm-minded, taking in that you're feeling a certain way and you're observing those feelings. You understand that you're angry, upset, happy, mad, sad. And logically, you're saying, okay, well, is me going to react this way going to help anything? And then you proceed based on mindfulness and you participate and engage in that situation based on the full picture, right? You're not looking at the black or white or only the black and white. You're also taking into consideration the gray area, which in this case would be the wise mind. So you go with the flow, right? You just want to respond in spontaneity in a sense. You're going with the flow. And I'll end it off with the example of a conversation with someone, because I think this is the biggest thing that I even struggle with sometimes as a counselor. I catch myself getting distracted, and I'll have a client, and the next thing I know, I'm thinking about, oh, I forgot to feed the dog this morning. Like, whoa, hold on, I'm with a client, refocus, go back. So again, there's going to be times where we won't be able to be fully in the here and now, but you want to catch yourself. You want to say, hey, wait a minute, I'm getting distracted. Let me just focus on this present moment. So with a conversation with someone, something that I usually recommend is putting away all distractions if possible, whether it's phones, TV, going outside to speak. If, like, for me, I have the dog, sometimes they'll bark, so I might go outside. So just being one with the other person. Don't plan out what to say next. Let it come up as it comes up, and not thinking about other things that you have to do. Again, that's a difficult task for a lot of us because we're humans. We have a lot of things that we're doing, and we worry about a lot of things. We're worry beings, so to speak, right? So the goal with this, with the what skills, is that you can start to eliminate and let go of some of that worry and be present in that moment. So again, this is a dialectical behavioral skill. This specifically is the what skills of DBT. You can look up more information on it, and my intention is to soon talk about the how skills. So this kind of gives you a brief little overview, and also ties into what Carlos was talking about with the power of now, and how you can mindfully start to control your thoughts, your feelings, by really focusing in on just the sensations. I think this is a powerful technique. And if you really liked it, again, look up more dialectical behavioral things, because it's the technique and the therapeutic technique that I lean on more so. And I think it's extremely helpful. But with that being said, thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or any concerns, anything, feel free. I'm going to pin us both here. We'll go ahead and answer anything that you might have. And again, thank you so much.